Hey guys, what is going on? Carter here, ready to rock another video for you. This one is all about my custom Hoback A15. What a cool knife. A lot of things I want to talk about with this knife. I am sure that I will forget a lot of what I want to say, but you know, whatever. That's how I roll. I'd much rather kind of turn on the camera and just start talking than go through talking points. So I've kind of already shown this baby off. But there's a few things I want to talk about. Some cons, mostly pros, with this really cool knife. I was blown away when I got this. And I think, I don't know why exactly, but I think I was a little worried that it was going to be a little crude, maybe, possibly, just due to, I guess, the types of finishes that he uses. It just, I don't know. I was just a little concerned that the finish or the fit on this knife wouldn't be all that great. I was worried it wasn't going to flip that well, and when I got it, I was completely blown away with the quality on this knife. Really cool. Now, the story behind this, I actually have been aware of Jake Hoback for a really long time. I bought one of his beta fixed blades. I think it was the beta 5, probably 3 years ago. And at that time, he was really just starting out in the folding world. He did have his A15, and I think he was starting to do the A10. So it was really early on in his folding knife career. And I remember I was going to get on the list to have him build me a folder, but I just never got around to it, and I didn't do it. And then sometime later, I did finally reach out to him to get on the list for an A15. He was actually going to do something pretty custom and unique for me with some wood inlays. But after being on the list for a number of months, I had to back out because of some personal expense issues. And more time went by, and then I finally got back on his list. And that was about maybe a year ago. And finally, I have my Jake Hoback after all that time. So it's kind of funny that I was really on the Jake Hoback bandwagon very early on, and yet I just barely got my very first Jake Hoback. Kind of funny how that works, but cool nonetheless. So we have a titanium frame lock flipper, a large titanium frame lock flipper. Let's get a weight on this real quick. I'm guessing the great weight Eni is going to guess that this is 9.5. Wow, I was way off. 7.9. So just under 8 ounces. So, you know, heavy, but not, when you consider how large it is, the kind of stock you're getting, very nice. I can only imagine that the older A15s are quite a bit heavier, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute. So, titanium frame lock with portions milled out of the handles and lightning strike carbon fiber inserted into them. As you can see right here on both sides, looks very nice, which leaves kind of a bolster look to it. I'm not sure if it's technically a bolster because typically bolsters are actually affixed onto scales, whereas this is milled out of handles. So kind of cool, kind of interesting. Custom pivot on this side, the non-show side. The Psalm 23 on there. We have a steel insert, which is a whole segment as opposed to just a little piece that sits on the inside. This whole segment here. We have the bearing rolling ball detent system, which I believe he invented. Very cool. So that's going to give it far less drag when the blade is moving. And this thing is so smooth. It's ridiculous. Super smooth. Also has bearings in the pivot. Custom clip right there. Love that clip. Very cool. Nice lanyard tab or hole. Titanium backspacer. This one actually does not have any information on the inside of the backspacer. I know typically he puts his initials and the date in there, but this particular one does not have that. I believe we have 3V steel, acid stonewashed. Kind of a modified Tonto kind of feel to it. only has one flat grind though. It's not compound ground. Very thick stock. Very chunky, meaty, beefy blade. 4 inches long blade, that is. Perfectly centered. Perfect detent. Really nice. This has all the latest Hoback features. It has the steel insert here. It has the pocketed out handles. So on the inside, he's removed material inside of here, bringing the weight down. That's why earlier when I was mentioning that, you know, his older ones are going to be quite a bit heavier. And the fact that it has carbon fiber inserted into the handles, that's even more weight that's being pulled off of this handle here. So he's done a lot to get this weight down. Probably the most impressive thing about this knife to me is the way it flips. And that's extremely important. Kind of like Jim Skelton, how he always talks about, if you're going to make a flipper, it damn well better flip. And that's exactly what Hoback has done here. He has engineered this thing exactly how a flipper should work. It's extremely smooth, it flies open, and it has a very strong detent. So you can really build up the pressure. I mean, this thing, you have to push this tab pretty hard to get it to open. So when it does finally open, it flies open like that. It just rockets. So quick. It's actually, you don't even have to do the push button method where you kind of cock your finger and push down on it. You can just light switch this thing and it flies open. Just pull down on that tab and it flies open. Has a very kind of hooked flipper tab right here, which acts as a finger guard in the open position. Very, very nice. Just love the look of this thing. He's really kind of perfected his look. He's found kind of a voice in terms of his style. I think is very apparent, kind of that, it's kind of controlled chaos, kind of controlled, worn look to it. You know, he's early on, he was doing the acid stonewashing, which is, you know, everywhere now, but he was one of the earlier guys doing it. Stonewashed handle. I mean, just kind of that Mad Max kind of look. But it's all on top of an extremely precise foundation of his work, if that makes sense. So it's not like it's not sloppy, it's not crude, it's just a beautiful kind of chaotic finish, I guess you could say, on top of a well-constructed knife. Now let's talk a few criticisms here. Some people have mentioned that they do not like these screws poking out of the handle, which, you know, at first I definitely will agree that that was kind of a little bit of a what's going on here. Some people were worried that it would cause hot spots. It doesn't. As you can see, you actually technically don't even handle these spots here, but even in the left hand, you don't notice. You don't notice these little screws poking up. They definitely look pretty cool, just different, unique. So I don't have a problem with them. And really, when you think about it, they don't stick out any more than the pivot does, or you know, the pocket clip. I mean, really, in the grand scheme of things, these little screws poking out, it doesn't hinder the knife at all. It doesn't make it uncomfortable. It doesn't affect the grip. It doesn't snag on anything, because, like I said, it doesn't stick out any more than anything else on any other knife does, if that makes sense. The other somewhat criticism is the actual flipper. It is a little pointy, and it's not that it's sharp, it's just pointy. And so if you do flip this thing over and over again, it does hurt your finger a little bit. Of course, knives aren't really meant to be played with, they're meant to be used. So under normal use, you wouldn't be flicking this thing open over and over again. But just something to be aware of. It is a pretty pointy tab right there. But other than that, those are the only two things that I can even really find noteworthy to talk about in terms of any sort of con, either on the design or the actual manufacture of this knife. Just outstanding. Absolutely love it. Love it. Alright guys, I'm out of here. That's enough of the A15. You guys take it easy. See ya.